Hello, vinyl community. It's Dennis back again. This time with one quick review and a handful of pickups I got the last week or so. So I'm going to jump into the review first. I've been listening to this over the last couple of days. Um, it was a release that was kind of crowdfunded. It wasn't on like a Bandcamp, a Crates, or anything like that. It was an independent website sort of release. Um, and I still have the shrink on here just because of a couple of the hype stickers. But it is a compilation, um, kind of like a covers album. I wouldn't say it's so much tribute. I guess you could kind of argue that it is, but it's songs that saved my life. It's from Hopeless Records and Sub City. And here's the back. So or I don't know what the breakdown for proceeds were, but the whole thing with this record was um, that the money that came from it were going to benefit various mental health and suicide prevention charities and organizations, and that's something that's really close to me. Back in uh, early on in college, there was a girl that uh, I graduated school with that ended up taking her own life. Um, and then, about a year later, her brother did the same exact thing. There was another set of brothers. One was a year above and one year below me. Did the same thing when we were in school. Um, it's a tragic thing. And then my girlfriend works at one of the local um, short-term mental health facilities in the area, and so with all of that, I felt it important to buy this, and the music on it also looked good. Um, so the track listing, we have bands like Against Me, Taking Back Sunday, um, the main movements, Dance Gavin Dance, covering songs like Torn and Lose My Religion by REM, Semi Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Crawling, Such Great Heights, Shape of My Heart, Let It Be by the Beatles. Um, I mean, that's not the full listing, but so what was included in this other than a download card, which I'm not going to take out, is a little, um, like a credits list that lists all the songs, who sang them on this album, and the original artists, and kind of things you would expect. And on the other side, is kind of learning the signs and things you can do to either help prevent a suicide or give people the help that they need. Things to kind of look for. Um, and if you don't know what they are, I really do implore you to either find something in your local area for a suicide sort of prevention training. Um, Ask your workplace if they'd be willing to cover that as part of your sort of yearly, if you have yearly training. Read about it in online YouTube videos, whatever it takes. It's seeming like it's becoming more and more of an epidemic every year, and we need to do everything we can to help get those numbers down. Uh, and so the record itself is just on plain black wax, but it does have these hand drawn sort of labels that kind of go with the aesthetic of the sleeve itself. There's C and D. And so overall, the just like with any sort of like a compilation sort of album. It's hit or miss. Um, I think this one is a much bigger hit. All in all, it's really quick listen. I think all of side A was great. That's neck deep movements and Stand Atlantic singing on there. Um, I will say the cover for Semi Charmed Life left a little bit to be desired. Same thing with Taking Back Sundays, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Um, side C, other than Crawling, which I think was by Linkin Park, I really didn't know either Such Great Heights or Shape of My Heart. Too Close to Touch's Let It Be was fantastic. Um, so overall, I don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was worth it. I know you can still buy it. I don't know. I don't think there was anything special about this release other than it was just the first batch, which I think they were going to limit originally. I don't know if they ever did that or not, to be honest. And one other thing, it's kind of annoying. There's only like 3 songs on each side, so there's a ton of dead wax. Um, and I get that. It was probably gonna be 2 LP set anyways. It just seems you could have put at least one more song on each side. I don't know. I think they missed a chance to add a couple more tracks and potentially maybe even get a little bit more for the various organizations that they're going after for helping. But moving on for like fines and such, I got a couple of CDs in. I'm a big fan of 90s alternative music. I've been looking for this one for a while, but the case is all kind of broken and shitty. But I've been trying to find a copy on Amazon for a while, so I don't know if I'm going to send it back or I'll just bite the bullet. But first, we've got on CD here Better Than Ezra's Before the Robots. This is the one that has Juicy or Find a Seer, A Southern Thing. And oh god, what's the song? I can't remember the name of the song off the top of my head, and the sticker's blocking it. And I don't know, it's a really good album. I've heard most of it. Definitely emotional in some spots. There's a song I can't remember the name of, and it's driving me nuts. And then along the same lines, this it looks way more like a bootleg than I thought it actually was. I thought this was some sort of small time official release, and I'm gonna guess that it's actually not. But it's another Better Than Ezra, recorded live at the 2016 New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. And instead of being in a normal jewel case, it's in one of these really small, like, aftermarket plastic cases. It looks like it was just printed out on a printer. And the album itself here, which, oh, that's nice. The freaking teeth on it are broken. CD looks mostly okay. Yeah, it's on a little blue back CD, and it's that's certainly not awesome. I have to get a replacement thing for that. I don't think it's worth sending back. I think I'll just slip it into a new. I'll find another case that's similar to it and just slip it in. So that's CDs. And, a lot of people in the vinyl community kind of poo-poo CDs. But, I have a ton. I have way more CDs than I do records, but I just don't have the space to display them the way I like to. I can put them on a bookshelf 2-3 deep, but they don't look good, right? So first, I have, looks like about 4 used records. I just got these yesterday. There's a local uh, normal music store for like, guitars, basses, band instruments, and such. They carry a small selection of vinyl records, and they just started carrying some new stuff here this week. The business has been around for a while, but the new a guy I used to work with took it over, and then um, people come in if they have vinyl to sell that's halfway decent. He'll buy it. It's mostly fairly priced. It's not bad. He has unmarked vinyl. It's three for $5. I want to say 3 for $10. Either way, he gets some pretty decent stuff. Um, this one was not a 3 for $5, but I saw it. I knew it was old, and it's something that I like. It's Masterpieces by Duke Ellington and his orchestra. Actually, it's Masterpieces by Ellington and Uncut Concert Arrangements. It was recorded in December of 1950. This is going to be a early repress of the album. Just a quick look at Discogs. Looks like this was released in about 56. It is on Columbia 6i. And I gotta say that the record itself is damn near perfect. And it's one of the main reasons why I even purchased it. Because like I said, I like the Duke. I don't have a whole lot of it. I don't listen to it probably as often as I really should. But between knowing that that's a fair bit aged, everything's pretty good. Corner's a little bit beat up, a little bit off white, like you would kind of expect. But I mean, 60 some years old now. So let's see here. So it contains Mood Indigo, Sophisticated Lady, The Tattooed Bride, and Solitude. Let's see who's all on here. We got Duke Ellington and Billy Strayhorn on piano. On sax, we have Russell Procope, Paul Gonzalez, Johnny Hodges, and Jimmy Hamilton. Trumpet, you got Nelson Williams, Andrew Ford, Harold Baker, Ray Nance, William Anderson. Trombone, you got Quentin Jackson, Lawrence Brown, and Tyree Glenn. Horn is Mercer Ellington. Drum, Sonny Greer. Wendell Marshall handles the bass, and vocalist by the name of Yvonne. I wonder if there's any relation to Cher, Madonna. So we'll need to. Probably don't even need to clean it. I mean, it's damn near dust free. It looks perfect. Now these three were in your more discounted bins, but all of them are pretty good shape. I mean, there's obviously going to be some service noise to them, but that's fine. So first off, we have Average White Band, Warmer Communications, and of course it's Average White Band, so it's got to have a voluptuous woman as the W. I'm not super familiar with this album, but I like their self-titled. I saw this and I thought, why the heck not get it? Just on your classic Atlantic label, tricolor label. Like I said, there's some scuff marks, and I'm sure a good cleaning is gonna help it too. Try to see. Looks like this came out in '78. Looking forward to listening to that. And so I really that was the one I mainly wanted. So I've been through a couple of bins at this point, and the pickings were pretty slim for what I wanted. There was maybe one in there that looked like I wouldn't mind having if I had to pick one. So moving on, I'm like, okay, what looks halfway decent here? And I know this band's basically become a meme at this point. But I figure there's got to be something to it with the amount of albums you see of them. and that's The Beat of the Brass, the best of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. At least I believe it was the best of. So it's a pretty heavy duty gatefold too. That has kind of looked like the band playing in some sort of parade. Pictures of members of the band, who I believe is Herb on the back, along with the track listing if I can figure out which hand's which. On just your plain old A&M records, kind of brown, dirty mustard, and this ain't dirtier than hell. There looks to be what could be some scuffs, of course some dirt and such. I'm hoping that going through the spin clean will give it a bit of new life. And so this last one, I know nothing about this record. I did a quick search because it looks like it could have kind of fallen into kind of the funk realm, because it reminded me of Betty Davis's album from around the same time. But I'm pretty sure it's just disco. But it's Amy Stewart, Knock on Wood. The sleeve has certainly seen better days, but one of the reasons why I picked it up is it's actually a promo of some sort. Gold stamp, demonstration not for sale. I mean, again, the record's in fine shape. On Areola Records. It's not a white label or anything. So that's kind of disappointing. They would really knocked it out of the park for me. Yeah, I have nothing to say about this. I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't heard any of these yet, I don't think. But, I'll give it a chance, and worst comes to worst, I'll just purchase from the collection at some point. Okay, so these are new albums that I just got last week and a half maybe. This one I actually just received in the mail this afternoon, right after work. Picked it up from Bandcamp, pre-ordered it a few months back. I sampled it a little bit on there. But it's sort of a tribute album. That's something you're gonna find out about me is I love cover songs, love tribute albums. This is not the last one even in this stack. I'll probably end up doing a top 5 or top 10, especially once I get my CDs out on display if I ever move or get a house or what have you. Otherwise, I guess I'll just edit it in. But anyways, this is from Taku and Jakarta Records, from I believe it was the UK. It got shipped from. It's 25 Nights of Nujabes. Now, I'm not so familiar with Nujabes, but they had recently repressed in the last year over in Japan one of his albums. They'd never been put to vinyl before, other than a few random like 7 and 10 inches. And Matt over at Too Many Records is a huge fan of Nujabes. He was kind of a jazz fusion artist, fairly young. Music was featured in like animes like Samurai Champloo and the like, and just really well respected for kind of the small amount of work he put out, but it was really, really good. And I've certainly sampled the album that I own from him before I bought it, because one, you gotta go from the Japanese yen to US dollar, plus shipping's insane from anywhere in the Pacific, it seems. And it's definitely something that's gonna be up my alley, and I hope to talk about that later. But these are basically kind of beats and songs that are inspired by Nujabes. Other than that, I really don't know. It looks like there's 28 tracks, 4 records. Um, it's sealed. I don't feel like taking the time to unseal these on camera. Uh, so sorry, guys. Uh, and then this one is the Better Oblivion Community Center, featuring Phoebe Bridgers and Connor Oberst. Um, I'm sure anybody that's kind of into kind of the alternative music scene of any sort has probably heard of some of these, or indie music has heard of these people. I honestly hadn't. I think one person from like Boy Genius, a few other bands, um, and I mean, just look at the name, Better Oblivion Community Center. I saw that on Amazon. I went, I don't know what the heck that means. That sounds great. And excuse me, just within a few days of me having seen that thing, the band put up a music video for their first single, and it was indie odd, like you would kind of expect. But there was something about it that really resonated with me. Um, so I'm sure this is one of those kind of albums that I'm either gonna love or I'm gonna hate. I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot of middle ground to it. Um, but I know early reviews it said it's really good. So I'm hoping that it lives up to those sort of expectations here. Um, all right. So my last two, um, there's a online shop called, I believe it was like Ed's Awesome Gifts or something like that. They were running a buy two get one sale for the last forever, it seems. And so I went on there, and it's a really kind of independent outfit. So new stuff gets added to the clearance section, kind of by hand throughout the day. So I looked through it once before, went, there's a couple of things on here, but do I need it? Not really. But he put out one of these albums, and I'm gonna save it for last. And I went, okay, I want that. I 100% want this thing. Um, and so I was like, okay, let's find some other stuff. And there's another record that's I got the shipping notification, but it's coming from one of the distributors right in Europe, and it's either the score or the soundtrack for the Ninth Gate, I believe it's called, the Johnny Depp movie. Um, so in addition to that, I found this album here. I don't know what to make of it, and I'm sure you'll see why. It's just a Japanese guy staring at you, kind of intently. Um, and I looked into him a little bit, and he was kind of one of the people that kind of brought city pop, which is this kind of uniquely Japanese um, type of music, to the forefront and stuff. This is shortly after one of his early bands broke up. He was solo. I believe it was one of his first solo releases. Um, it's the artist's name is, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Haruomi Hosono. The album's called Hosono House. Again, sorry for the glare. I haven't taken the plastic off of anything here. And they also had this bottom album for sale on there. And I brought up YouTube. I put this on in the background. And of course he sings in Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese. I don't understand it. But there's something beautiful about the music and the way he sang that made me okay with it. So as I'm going through and trying to find did I want to get seventh or the Ninth Gate or Seventh Gate? I think it's Ninth Gate. Or or do I want something that's that's maybe I really haven't heard before, right? And then I came across this Koei Moon, which the cover of it is very Bollywood like, um, and apparently was one of the first times he used like synthesizers like exclusively in his music, and it certainly tells it's not, to my ears, it's not super pleasant. Whereas the Sosona House, I didn't listen to the whole thing. It's relatively short. It's like 25-30 minutes long, I think. Um, it's just kind of this slow, it's kind of upbeat sort of sounding guitar, just very very basic, um, and I think this would be good just to relax, mellow out. Maybe read a few chapters in a book. Um, Put on it for some sort of a dinner party, maybe. Um, and so yeah, I mean, it looks like it was remastered from the original tapes. This is the first time it's been made available outside of Japan on release. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Other than, like I said, it looks interesting. And um, another thing about this channel you'll find too is I'm a big fan of the blind buy. Um, because I feel like if you only go with artists or I think I've heard of this band, sort of deal. I feel like you can kind of pigeonhole yourself into just buying one type of music and not never expanding your taste. And I did that a lot in high school in a lot of ways. I pigeonholed myself with listening to a lot of metal music, almost exclusively. That lasted a couple of years, and don't get me wrong, I love it. Right, I love my Godsmack and Iron Maiden and Slayer and Cannibal Corpse and all that. But um, I realized that it wasn't a genre I wanted to just listen to. I really like, Bare Naked Ladies, Better Than Ezra, and Frank Sinatra, and the Beatles, and all that. So, and then now as an adult, you look at a record shop, and there's so many bands out there that I've never heard of before, and or something that you might have heard one song of, and or a cover of a song you didn't even know was a cover, you know, and it's amazing some of the music I found and how great it is, and how nobody talks about it. Um, Now this is not one of those things. This is probably a super mainstream sort of album. However, it's a tribute album. 3 LPs. When did this come out? A couple years ago, 2014. Looks like, for Bulletproof, and that is The Art of McCartney. I didn't even know this existed. Um, but it came up on that website, Ed's Awesome Sounds or whatever. Um, and I went, what the heck is that? Like, it either seems like it's gonna be like a best of Paul McCartney or some sort of a tribute album. It's definitely tribute. Um, the hype sticker has 34 new studio tracks, over 2 hours of music. It's all on 180 gram vinyl. Featuring Bob Dylan, Brian Wilson, Roger Daltrey, Jamie Cullum, The Cure, and many more. And a lot of these I saw were posted to the Art of McCartney's YouTube channel. So that's I listened to oh, where is it? Alice Cooper did. Why can't I find it? Eleanor Rigby. Looks like it's on album 3. Um, and he just sounds great. You know, The Cure featuring James McCartney did a cover of "Hello Goodbye." Um, Kareem Bailey Ray does "Bluebird." Willie Nelson does "Yesterday." You know, Dr. John does "Let 'Em In." Smokey Robinson, "So Bad." "On the Way" by B.B. King. "Hey Jude" by Steve Miller. Kiss does "Venus and Mars Rock Show." Bob Dylan covers "Things We Said Today." "Band of the Run" by Heart. Even Yusuf / Cat Stevens does "The Long and Winding Road." I mean, like, this is certainly a who's who of of artists. I mean, from both fairly contemporary to Paul, Bob Dylan, Brian Wilson, of course Willie Nelson, Barry Gibb, to a little bit newer, The Cure. Let's see here. Kareem Bailey Ray's Owl City, Airborne Toxic Event. I'm really, really excited. The only reason why I haven't listened to this yet is that I know I'm going to want to listen to all 3 or all 6 sides back to back, and especially because I don't think this has a download card attached to it. I could be wrong, but it doesn't hype it up. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for these sort of things, and like any sort of like an anthology deal, I know that there's going to be some really good tracks and some really bad ones, especially with something this long. I don't know. There's just something about these sort of cover and tribute albums that I just love. So that being said, I have a couple things in the air. I was hoping to get over across to my record store this weekend, but my parents are coming up, and only one of them has any way to get over to Canada. So we will not be going over there. But today is also February 28th, and Record Store Day posted their official list. And I am super excited about some of the releases on there. And one of the news things that came out of it too for Third Man Records is that Captain Beefheart's Trollmask replica is going to be pressed like ad infinitum. Because previously they did a Third Man Vault release. They did it really well. But it's limited numbers and such, and pressings are going 80, 90, $100+ for a lot of old represses. So it sounds like what they did is they worked along with the Zappa estate, who must hold the record or the rights. Got the original master tapes, you use that to press the vinyl, and they actually found the original photo, and is going to use that for the cover. The way it sounds is that they've taken essentially a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy every time it's been repressed, and so like the image has been getting blurrier and blurrier over the last 40 years. And it's certainly not an album that's up my alley right now. But I'm really fascinated by it, and I want to own it. And I had a chance to buy one when I was down in Detroit. It was like $80. I don't know which pressing it was, but I certainly couldn't justify that. But for 180 gram, I'm sure it's going to be, probably $30 or whatever, $40. I'd probably buy it for that. For a brand new pressing, so it's going to sound good. And from Third Man, it's going to sound good. Yeah, the only other big thing coming out of Record Store Day is the fact that they're bringing back those little 3-inch records. They came out of Japan back in the 2000s. made their way over here for a few years. They're coming out with a White Stripes singles bundle. It's like six 3-inch records. Some of the staple artists, like the Raconteurs, the Dead Weather, Jack White, and somebody else are doing 3-inch records. I saw one for the Foo Fighters doing one. But the way it makes it sound that the record players are only going to be available at the storefront on Record Store Day in Nashville and Detroit. I don't know if they're just going to be a special edition and they're limited, or if they're going to have like Record Store Day versions of them and then keep producing the record players. But I've heard that they're going to be round about $80 US. It's certainly like I'm not going to drive all the way down to Detroit just to pick one up. But if news comes out that they're going to keep producing these little 3-inches, if I can see what the price is for the bundles and stuff, maybe I'll pick a few of those up. But I think as it gets a little bit closer, I'll probably do a full video on what I'm looking forward to for Record Store Day, especially because not everything has a description up just yet. So there's some I'm certainly interested in, but who the hell knows if how well that's gonna play out. If the description goes up and it's not what it sounds like, why pay for it? But I've been rambling for far too long, and I'm certainly not going to cut this down. So, hope everybody has a good night, good day, good afternoon, good weekend, good morrow. Bye.